So morning guys. Uh, so today's session, let's cover up few more standards what are left over. So if you observe, we are right now left with just two more standards. One, AS12 government grants. Second, AS16. AS16, your borrowing cost. Okay. So let's finish off those two standards with respect to theory first. And then we will get into problems of all these standards together at a time. Okay. We will go through at least some 20-30 of past exam questions which will give us an insight of how to solve a problem again. Okay, so yeah, okay, so there is one more standard. Even AS26 is also pending. Even AS26 also pending. So let's do all these and finish it off today. Okay, so I'll start with AS12. Let us start with AS12. Accounting for government grants. Now, first of all, what do you mean by government? What do you mean by government? Government means it could either be a central government or a state government or a local body, local authority, whoever it be is basically what we call as a government. Now, what do we mean by a grant? What do we mean by a grant? A grant could be either a contribution made towards setting up the business, or towards purchase of any asset, okay, or any revenue grant. Now, from this info, what do you understand? There are few things which are not part of government grants. What could be not part of a government grant? Those are what we call as specific exclusions. Specific exclusions from government grants. There are few things. They are first one, if there is any government assistance. Now, what does government assistance mean? Government assistance means if you do something, I'll give you some benefit, is what a government assistance is. Take example. Central government announces that for sugar manufacturing companies, there is a special loan which is provided, okay, through NABARD, for which normally interest rate would be somewhere around 10 to 12%. Because it is for sugar manufacturing companies, the government gives it at a discounted rate of say 4% or 5%. The reason why it gives is there is an assistance being provided to sugar manufacturing units. Why it is being provided? Because sugar manufacturing is a seasonal industry. 6 months they would have job, 6 months they would not be operating at all. They are going to be idle. Okay, so to ensure the business in sugar manufacturing units is done properly, it is being provided for a 4.4% or 5% rate of interest. This is basically a assistance given. I'm just giving an example. Another example. Say for farmers, if you observe, farmers, each state has got its own set of assistances being provided. What are the assistances being provided? If you cultivate paddy, I'll give you 50,000 per year. If you cultivate paddy. Or if you cultivate some other crop, I would give you 60,000 as benefit for you so that you can take advantage of it. Okay, these are basically assistances. These are basically assistances being provided by government. Okay, in such cases, they are called as assistances. Any such assistance is kept out of this government grant. Is kept out of this government grant. That means these are something being provided only if you do something. Okay, because you are doing X activity, you're going to get some additional benefit from the government. Then it is not considered as a government grant at all. Second, there is something called government participation. Government participation. What does government participation mean? It means government participation in ownership of enterprises. Ownership of enterprises. Now, what is ownership of enterprise mean? It means I will buy stake in your company. That is, government buys stake in your company. In such case, I call it as government's participation. We are also not talking about government participations here. Okay, we are also not talking part of government participation in the entity's equity. And thirdly, okay, there could be some special instances like where accounting is done. Accounting for grant in financial statements, it is accounted as the effect of changes in prices. Okay, accounting for grants in financial statements, which is considered as effect of accounting policies. Okay, that reflect the effect of accounting policies. Accounting policies with respect to changing prices, or you can directly take it as effect of changing prices. Okay, now what does this mean? Basically, there would be some special circumstances where government states that if the price is X, for a particular commodity, a price is pegged up by the government at times, stating that beyond this rate, someone should not charge someone. Okay, take example of current scenarios. Corona treatments in hospitals, private hospitals. Every state has come up with a rate chart. If it is going to be isolation ward, the rate should be so much. If it is going to be an ICU, it is going to be this much. This is the maximum amount which you are supposed to charge. Or if it is ICU with ventilator facility, X amount is only supposed to be charged. Such rate cards are specifically given by governments. Okay, specifically given by governments, and these are basically, these could be at a discounted prices also. This could be a discounted price also. In such case, any accounting for grants, okay, and at times what happens is these monies might come from government. Okay, so any such monies which have come as a assistance from government, okay, in such cases it is also not considered as part of government grants. Now, if all these are not part of government grant, what is actually government grant? What should I consider for accounting? Now, before we go there, let us first talk about why a standard is required for government grants. Accounting. Now, if you observe in the balance sheet of the company, I may purchase an asset. Okay. When I purchase this asset, say it is 10 lakhs worth. Okay. For this 10 lakhs, I might have spent 8 lakhs and government might have spent 2 lakhs. Okay. Now, if I don't recognize the 2 lakhs which is given by government in my books of accounts, if I don't consider this at all, I will not have a basis for me to prove that my asset is worth 10 lakhs. Yes or no? My asset is worth 10 lakhs. So there is a requirement for me to disclose how I have purchased this 10 lakhs worth of asset for 8 lakh rupees. Yes or no? Similarly, say if it is a grant which is a revenue grant which I have received. What does a revenue grant mean? Something which is given as income from government. Okay, income from government. In such case, you call it as revenue grants. Now, these revenue grants, if at all you receive any, are supposed to be, considered as income by us. Okay, if I don't consume them as income, it might not give me the base for me to show how I have spent my expenses. Yes or no? So this is the basis as to why there is a requirement for us to have an accounting standard on government grants. Okay. Now, having said about the base, now let us talk about what a government grant is. A government grant is basically a grant given by the government either in cash or in kind. And these government grants can be broadly classified into two. One, which is a capital grant, and second, a revenue grant. Okay. Out of this capital grant, you can further split into two varieties. These capital grants can be further split into two varieties. A grant which is given as a capital contribution. Second, towards purchase of fixed assets. Okay, we will understand each of these in detail. Okay, now these fixed assets could be either a depreciable fixed asset or a non-depreciable fixed asset. Okay, so broadly, these are the classifications of government grant for you. I'll repeat once again. A government grant can be either a capital grant or a revenue grant. Under capital grants, it can be given in two alternatives, two ways possible. First way is as a capital contribution. Second, towards fixed assets. In fixed assets, again, there is possibility of it being a depreciable fixed asset or a non-depreciable fixed asset. Broadly, these are the types of grants which can be given. Now, what do you mean by a revenue grant? Revenue grant means a grant which is given by government, which is supposed to be considered as an income for the particular period, the year in which you have received it. Okay. Now, for any of these grants to be given by government, there are certain conditions which are supposed to be satisfied. As given by government. Okay. Now, what sort of conditions could it be? We don't know. Reason, conditions would be different in each scenario. For each type of grant being given, there could be a different condition. Okay. So considering all those information, the conditions whatever are given, only on satisfaction of those conditions, your grant would generally be given to you. Okay. Now, having said this, how do I recognize a government grant? Now, the first condition for recognition, the first condition is conditions from the government will be satisfied. Is what the first criteria is. Okay, that means I would comply with what all conditions government comes up with. Okay, that's the first criteria. Okay, second, number 2, collectability of grant is certain. Now, what does this mean? Collectability of grant is certain. That means the ultimate collection of monies from government is sure. If you are confident about satisfying the conditions, and if you are sure that government is going to give you money, you can recognize the government grant immediately. Okay, these are the two triggering points for us. These are the two triggering points for us to recognize a government grant. Okay, now, in what ways should I account for these government grants? Okay, in what ways should I account for these government grants? Now, accounting wise, if you observe, you are given accounting based on these types of classifications what we have done here. For non-depreciable assets, you have a different style. For depreciable assets, you have two types of accounting which is given. For a capital contribution, different type of accounting is suggested. For revenue grant, it's a different type of accounting which is suggested. Okay, so for each of these, we are going to see how accounting is generally done. Okay, now let us first start with what if a government grant is given for fixed assets. Is given for fixed assets. Okay, now for fixed assets, if you observe, I told you that there are two types of fixed assets. Yes or no? One is depreciable fixed asset. Second is non-depreciable fixed assets. Okay, now let me tell you with an example here, then we will be able to understand better. Say I'll first talk about depreciable fixed asset. Okay, depreciable fixed asset. There is a machine which I am planning to buy. This machine is priced 10 lakhs in the market, and government stated that if I contribute 80%, government will contribute 20%. Okay, so that means my contribution to the asset is 8 lakhs and government contribution is 2 lakhs. Okay, now I'll talk about the first alternative which is given for a depreciable fixed asset. The first alternative is when the price is 10 lakhs, and 2 lakhs is paid by government, your effective price is only 8 lakhs, yes or no? Your effective price is only 8 lakhs, subject to certain conditions which are supposed to be satisfied by you. Okay, so your effective price is 8 lakhs, recognized in your balance sheet asset only for 8 lakhs. Fixed asset is recognized only for 8 lakhs. Okay, and this 8 lakhs of asset will be depreciated by you over its useful life. That's all. This is the first method what standard suggests you. If at all it is a depreciable asset. Okay, I'll slightly change the conditions now. What if government has given me entire 10 lakhs? That means there is no contribution on my side at all. Okay, there is no contribution on my side at all. I have a fixed asset which is given completely by my government only. Okay, in such case, what is supposed to be done is fixed asset will be recognized at a nominal value. What is nominal value? Say 1 rupee. Okay, because entire 10 lakhs is given by government only. There is nothing which is paid out of my hand to show that is my asset. Okay, so what we would instead do is we would show it at a nominal value of 1 rupee. Okay, some value is supposed to be shown. Why is this also supposed to be shown? Because this asset should come into my books of accounts. No, if it does not have a monetary value at all, it does not come into books of accounts at all. Right? To avoid such consequences, we are giving a small value to it, which may be 1 rupee or 50 paise, whatever it be. and let it be in the balance sheet. Let it be in the balance sheet. This is my context with respect to a depreciable asset. A depreciable asset. I hope you guys understood. I'm talking about a depreciable asset where the price of the asset is 10 lakhs. First instance, I told you, out of which 8 lakhs is paid by government. 8 lakhs is paid by, or 2 lakhs is paid by government and 8 lakhs is borne by me. In such case, that 8 lakhs only will be considered as the asset value. Asset value, and during the life of the asset, the 8 lakhs will be depreciated. Second scenario, out of 10 lakh, entire 10 lakhs is given by government only. Entire 10 lakhs is given by government. In such case, there is no money which is spent out of my pocket. In such case, attach a very small nominal value to the asset, because your asset should be disclosed in your books of accounts with the value. Okay. Hence, you would show it at a nominal value of 1 rupee or whatever and disclose it in your financial statements. Okay. This is what's supposed to be done if the asset what we take is a depreciable asset. Is a depreciable asset. Now let us talk about non-depreciable assets. Non-depreciable assets. Now, what do we mean by a non-depreciable asset? A non-depreciable asset. Oh, sorry. First of all, we did not talk about the second method for depreciable assets, no? Yeah, fine. Let us talk about that. Then we'll go to the non-depreciable assets part. Okay. So let's take this off. Let's talk about alternative two for depreciable assets. Okay. Now, alternative two, let's go with the same old example. Machine value is 10 lakhs. Okay. Government grant received is 2 lakhs. 8 lakhs is my contribution. My contribution is 8 lakhs. Okay. Now, what you can do in this case is, in the second alternative is, I do not want to show the asset at a reduced price. I want to show it at its actual price only. I want to show it at my actual price only. That means I would like to show it at 10 lakhs only, not 8 lakhs. Not 8 lakhs. Okay. In such case, what I would do is in the balance sheet, I would show the machine for same 10 lakhs. Okay. For the same 10 lakhs, and the 2 lakhs whatever I have received, I would showcase it as a deferred income in my liabilities side. Okay. That is, whatever monies I have received from the government will be showcased as a deferred income for 2 lakhs. Okay. Once this initial recognition is done, please don't bother about the sounds outside. Okay. So once this initial recognition of 10 lakhs and 2 lakhs are done, oh, sorry. Once this initial recognition of 10 lakhs and 2 lakhs is done, every year I am supposed to charge depreciation, no? Depreciation would be charged on 10 lakhs over the life of the asset. Say the asset life is 10 years. Okay. And the residual value at the end of the life is 0. In such case, what would be my depreciation? It is going to be 1 lakh every year, and I follow SLM, straight line method of depreciation. Okay. In such case, 1 lakh would be the amount of depreciation for me each year for 10 years. And what standard suggests you to do is the deferred income, whatever you are showing as part of your liability, whatever you're showing as part of your liability, this will be recognized as income. This will be recognized as income over the useful life in proportion of your depreciation. In proportion of your depreciation. For example, if you are charging straight line method 1 lakh each year to your P&L as depreciation, in such case, from your deferred revenue also, deferred income also, recognize 20,000 as income over the next 10 years. Next 10 years. What happens then? Effectively, it would be only 80,000 of depreciation. It would be only 80,000 of depreciation. Okay. Instead, you are going to showcase your asset at its original fair value. Okay. Original cost. Okay. So this is the advantage if at all you adopt deferred income method. This is what we call as alternative to deferred income method. Okay. The first method is called as net off method. That is, you are deducting the amount of government grant received and only the net amount is being shown as your assets fair value, assets book value. Okay. Instead, in the second method, you are recognizing the asset at its original cost. However, later on when you recognize the income that is recognized, later on when you recognize the government grant, it is considered as a deferred income and is shown as part of your liabilities. Every year as you charge depreciation, one more additional entry would be charged for deferred income also. Okay. So this is how we do in case the assets are depreciable assets on which there is a government grant received. Okay. Now, having said this about depreciable fixed assets, now let us talk about non-depreciable fixed assets. Yeah, before we go there is a question here. Sir, which method will companies generally use? To the best of my knowledge, I would always suggest you to adopt second method only, that is deferred income method. Reason, you can boost your balance sheet little higher. Okay, you can boost up your balance sheet little higher and it gives a better balance sheet total. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now let us come to non-depreciable assets. Let's come to non-depreciable assets. Now, when a grant is received towards non-depreciable assets, it is accounted like this. Number one, whatever contribution you receive from government, this amount would be treated as part of your capital reserve. Will be treated as part of your capital reserve. Okay. However, if such grant requires fulfillment of conditions. Okay, let me keep that fulfillment of conditions aside. First, let us finish this off. Okay. Whenever a contribution is received for a non-depreciable asset, that means, say for example, you have purchased a land. Government stated that if you set up a factory here by purchasing land, I will bear whatever be the cost for you for the land. Okay, what happened here? I am buying land at the cost of my state government or central government, and I am providing employment opportunities, multiple employment opportunities there. Okay, so considering that, say if I purchase a land and government has made a contribution towards it, that is, a grant is given to me by the government. In such case, it is whatever grant is received or whatever money is received, it is credited to capital reserve account. Okay, that means in the balance sheet you would have land. Say the land is worth 50 lakhs. Okay, you would have land for 50 lakhs and a capital reserve for 50 lakhs and a capital reserve for 50 lakhs. Okay. However, at times what happens is these grants with respect to non-depreciable assets come with certain criteria. Of course, there will be normal criteria. There could be some additional criteria given by the government to ensure the safety of monies invested by the by government. Okay, so in such cases, what they would do is they would give you further more restrictions, further more conditions to be satisfied. Okay, in such cases, what standard suggests is whatever monies are received, they are considered as, you know, deferred revenue, and this income would be recognized in P&L. This income would be recognized in P&L over the life during which you are supposed to satisfy the conditions. Okay, you're supposed to satisfy the conditions, along with which you are also allowed to charge expenses to P&L if at all incurred to satisfy the conditions. Okay, to satisfy the conditions. So this is the method what you are supposed to do if at all it is a non-depreciable asset for which you may receive any contribution. Okay, so that means you would increase the asset value, or you would recognize the asset at its cost. Alongside, you will recognize something called as capital reserve in the balance sheet. You will recognize something called as capital reserve in the balance sheet and take it forward. Okay. Now this is with respect to when you have a non-depreciable asset being purchased through a government assistance. Okay. Next. I also told about a capital contribution. Please recollect our first discussion part which we had. Please see. I think you are able to see it on the screen. Your government grants can be two types. One is capital, second is revenue. Under capital, you again have further two classifications. One is capital contribution, second is towards fixed assets. We just talked about fixed assets. Now I am talking about capital contribution. What does that mean? Instead of giving it for a specific asset, I am giving you directly towards your capital itself. That means at times governments come up with policies stating you set up a facility in this place, you buy whatever equipment you want, you tell me what is your project cost, out of that I'll give you 10%, out of that I'll give you 20%. That means he's not specifically buying over the assets and giving. The government is not specifically buying over the assets and giving. Instead, government is actually giving you a lump sum amount which is supposed to be spent by you towards your business establishment. Okay. So for that, in such cases, you call it as a capital contribution. Now, whenever a capital contribution is received, you cannot specifically mention that it is for a specific asset. Yes or no? So entry would generally be mentioned as bank account debit. Say you have received 50 lakhs. Okay. Bank account debit 50 lakhs to capital reserve. This whatever amount is received from government will be showcased as part of your equity. When I say equity, it is not equity share capital, it's your reserves surplus. Okay. It's shown as part of your equity. That is, you are going to show it as part of capital contribution from the government, which is shown as part of capital reserve. Okay. So this is how you recognize in case you have any contributions which is a kind of capital contribution. Okay. So such capital contributions are also called as promoters contribution. Okay. Promoters contribution. Okay. So this is second category. Now let us get into the last leg, which is revenue grants. What does a revenue grant mean? Revenue grants are grants which are received by an entity for their for their consumption in the business, and they are something which could be recurring as well. They are something which could be recurring as well. In such cases, we call it as revenue grants. Okay. So these could be systematic payments what we receive. Systematic payments we receive. Yeah. So any such revenue grants are recognized as income, in the year in which it is supposed to be received. Okay. Okay. And all such revenue grants are considered as part of other income in the financial statements. Other income. That means it is not your primary income. It's not your primary income. It's only secondary source of income for you. Other incomes is where you classify it in your P&L account. Okay. So this is the broad understanding of how revenue grants are initially recognized. Okay. Initially recognized. Now, if you recollect in the beginning, I have mentioned that to recognize a revenue grant, the first condition to be satisfied is you should comply with the conditions given by government. Okay. You should comply with the conditions given by government, and you assume that you would definitely comply with the conditions given by government. Okay. Now there is a possibility that during the grant period, during the years of satisfaction of grant conditions, you did not satisfy in a year. That means during the years in which you are supposed to satisfy, you failed to satisfy a particular condition. You failed to satisfy a particular condition. In such case, what happens? In such case, what standard says is the grant becomes refundable. The grant becomes refundable. Okay. So that means refund of government grant. Refund of government grant. Okay. In what circumstances would we do? In what circumstances would we do? That is, if you don't satisfy with the conditions given by the government, only then it becomes refundable. That's all. Okay. Only then it becomes refundable. Now, there are multiple cases what we have seen till now. First, what we saw is if it is for purchase of fixed assets, if it is purchase of depreciable fixed assets, and you adopted alternative 1. Number 2, depreciable fixed assets, you adopted alternative 2. That is income recognition, deferred income recognition. Number 3, you purchased non-depreciable fixed assets. You adopted capital reserve approach. Okay. Number 4, you have received a revenue grant. You took it to P&L account. Number 5, you have received a capital contribution, that is promoter's contribution. If you receive a capital contribution, the money whatever you have received, you have taken it to capital reserve. Okay. In all these circumstances, you have total 5 types of accountings which are possible. Yes or no? Out of these 5, if the grant becomes refundable, what should I do is the question. Okay. So let us take each of these instances and then discuss what has to be done in case the grant becomes refundable. Okay. Now, number 1, depreciable fixed assets. Depreciable fixed assets, and grant is refundable. Depreciable fixed assets and grant is refundable. Okay. Now, so let us take it as first alternative which we chose. What is first alternative? Net off method is adopted. Net off method is adopted. Now, if it is net off method adopted, what standard suggests is say for example, take this example, machinery, you initially identified the cost to be 10 lakhs and government grant received is 2 lakhs. Okay. And book value recognized, okay, initially is 8 lakhs. Book value initially recognized is 8 lakhs. Okay. After purchasing the asset, after recognizing the asset for 8 lakhs, 2 years passed, 2 years passed. Okay. And this 8 lakhs worth of asset is worth useful for 10 years. And my depreciation is SLM method, SLM, and there is zero residual value, zero residual value at the end of the year, at end of 10 years. This is my situation. Now, 2 years passed. What does that mean? In my balance sheet, I will have fixed asset for 8 lakhs minus 280,000 because 2 years depreciation is already charged. No. Okay. So 1.6 lakhs would be deducted from 8 lakhs. So I would have 6,40,000 as my asset book value at the end of 2 years. Okay. At this juncture, I failed to satisfy my conditions for government grant. My conditions for government grant. What should I do? What should I do? 1 second, guys. Yeah, sorry, guys. So what we were discussing is we purchased an asset for 10 lakhs, out of which 2 lakhs is government grant received and 8 lakhs is book value. Later on, 2 years depreciation is charged at 10%. That is straight line method for 10 years. So it is going to be 80,000 each year. 2 years pass, 1.6 lakhs is gone. Book value today is 6.4 lakhs. At this juncture, I am actually asked to pay back the entire 2 lakhs because I did not satisfy the conditions for government grants. Okay, because I did not satisfy the conditions for government grants, I'm asked to pay that 2 lakh rupees now. Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm asked to pay that 2 lakh rupees now. Now, if this is the case, how do I account for it? What standard says is pay whatever is supposed to be paid to government. That is 2 lakhs, you pay it off right now. You pay the 2 lakhs right now. So what happens? 2 lakh is supposed to be credited to your bank account because you are supposed to pay to the government. Pay 2 lakhs to the government. And this 2 lakhs is going to be added to your fixed asset value today. Fixed asset value today. That means your entry when you refund your government grant received is going to be fixed asset account debit to bank. 2 lakhs and 2 lakhs. Okay. And now the doubt comes, how should I charge depreciation? Yes or no? The revised amount in your book value, that is your fixed assets revised amount is going to be 6.4 lakhs plus 2 lakhs. Yes or no? That is 8.4 lakh. 8.4 lakhs is your revised amount of fixed assets. Now this 8.4 lakh is supposed to be charged off. That is, you depreciate it over the remaining useful life. What is the remaining useful life? 8 more years you have, no? 8 more years is what you have. Over 8 years, charge of this 8.4 lakhs. So how much it would be? 8.4 lakhs divided by 8 years. Amount, please. Guys. 8.4 lakhs divided by 8 years. No, I'm talking about what is the amount of depreciation to be charged every year. Refund is going to be 2 lakhs. You are going to give back 2 lakhs. And what is the depreciation over the next 8 years under straight line method is my question. Okay. Fine. So depreciation per year going forward for the next 8 years is going to be 1.05 lakh. 1.05 lakh is going to be the amount of depreciation going forward. Okay. So this is how you would account for whenever you have a grant being refundable in case it is on a depreciable asset, and you have adopted net off method. Now let us go to second method with respect to depreciable assets. What is the second method for depreciable assets? For depreciable fixed assets, okay, sorry. So for depreciable fixed assets, you have adopted deferred income method. Okay, deferred income method. Now let us take the same example and see how it would be under this method now. Okay, so initially you would have recognized fixed asset at 10 lakhs and recognized 2 lakhs as income. That is your deferred income. Out of this 10 lakhs, 2 lakhs of depreciation is charged, 2 years passed, so book value is 8 lakhs. And on your liability side, you would have 40,000, which is recognized as income over the 2 years. So right now the book value of your deferred income is going to be 1.6 lakhs. Okay. At this juncture, you are paying back your monies. So what standard says is whenever it is being refunded, recognize this 1.6 lakhs as reversal, because you are paying 2 lakhs rupees right now, of which 1.6 lakhs is still in your liabilities. Recognize that as paid. Okay. So amount what would be done is, so you know that you definitely have to pay a credit, have a credit of 2 lakhs to your bank account. So to bank, no change, 2 lakhs. On the debit side, deferred income, whatever you have, balancing figure, recognize that. And the difference, whatever is there, that is 0.4, will be charged to P&L account in the year in which it is done. Will be charged to P&L account in the year in which it is done. That means, what are you trying to do here? Because it is something which is already recognized as income in P&L account earlier, you are now charging it after depreciation in the current year. Okay, you are now charging it after depreciation in the current year, and asset wise there would not be any impact at all, because you are already showcasing your asset at original cost only. You are showcasing your asset or original cost, so that does not impact at all. Only thing what gets impacted is your liability side. That's all. Okay, I hope you guys understood the second method also. Now let us go to the third method. That is where the asset is taken as, okay, it's a non-depreciable fixed asset, and it is transferred to capital reserve. Okay. So number 3, non-depreciable fixed asset, and it is transferred to capital reserve. This is the value what you have here. Okay. This is the item what you have here. Now, if it is transferred to capital reserve, what it would have been initially? Say 10 lakhs is the value of fixed asset, land I bought, and I've got 2 lakhs from government. That's all. This is how I show. Yes or no? Now, whatever 2 lakhs you have in the books of accounts, that would be paid back now. So entry is going to be capital reserve account debit to bank, because you created capital reserve when you actually received that. Okay. Now you are reversing it off, 2 lakhs and 2 lakhs. That is your entry. If at all you pay back monies, whatever received, government grant, whatever is received, as part of contribution towards non-depreciable fixed assets. Now there is one more important instance here. At times I told you, if there are certain expenses to be incurred, you may recognize the amount of government grant received on non depreciable fixed assets as income over the life of the asset. Yes or no? In such case, say out of this over 2 years, you have recognized 50,000 of income already in P&L. So that means in your books of accounts, in the balance sheet, you may have liability only for 1.5 lakhs. Your capital reserve may have a balance of only 1.5 lakhs. In such case, what happens? In such case, what happens? The entry is going to be capital reserve would be debited for 1.5 lakh what you have. The balance would be taken to P&L account. You charge the balance 50,000 to P&L account. To bank 2 lakhs. To bank 2 lakhs. Okay. So this is how you adopt, if at all you have a fixed asset which is non-depreciable, for which you have contributed. There is a government grant which is received towards purchase of that particular fixed asset. Okay. And there is a refund which is supposed to be made. Clear? Now let's go to fourth item. Fourth item. That is, how do we account for if the grant is a promoter's contribution? If the grant is a promoter's contribution, or also called as capital contribution. What is the entry we pass when we actually receive it? Entry is going to be bank account debit to capital reserve 2 lakhs, 2 lakhs. Say this is the amount what you have initially received. Post that you will not make any changes to it. It continuously, it's going to be continuously be in your books of accounts only for that value. That's all. Okay. Later on, when it is refundable now, entry is going to be capital reserve account debit 2 lakhs to bank 2 lakhs. That's all. Over. Okay. This is the fourth instance, fourth accounting method what we have seen. Fourth type of government grant what we receive. Okay. Lastly, number 5. What if a revenue grant is refundable? What if a revenue grant is refundable? As I told you, any revenue grant is generally something which is taken to P&L account. Is generally something taken to P&L account. Once it is done, it is now refundable. That is, your revenue grant condition, something which got not satisfied. Now you are forced to pay back that money. So what happens? It becomes as an expense in the year in which you do not satisfy the grant conditions. Okay. So in such case, entry would be your expense account, expense or loss on refund of government grant account debit to bank 2 lakhs, 2 lakhs. That's all. Clear? So these are the methods in which you account for government grants whenever you have anything being refundable. Government grant if it becomes refundable. Okay. So these are things what you need to be cautious about. So with this, the standard is almost done. Coming to disclosures in the standard. Disclosures in the standard. You are supposed to disclose type of government grant. Type of government grant received. Okay. Accounting method adopted. Okay. Any change in accounting policy. Accounting policy, if any, these are supposed to be disclosed in your financial statements. Okay. So this is with the government grants standard. Okay. Problems, as I told you, once we are done with all the theory concepts, then we will jump into the problems and do at once. Okay.